Hi guys and welcome to Faewood. So today I'm going to do a slightly different kind of video where I'm going to revisit an old project that I did and see if I can't improve what I started out with. So I don't know if you guys have been with me for a while, but if you have, you might have seen my glowing poison bottle. This was a tutorial way back when I started, and I went down a rabbit hole of YouTube basically thinking I really wanted to find out how to make an actual glowing bottle. So that's where this project came in into play. And obviously I played around with how to make it look kind of cool, adding some bubbles and adding a cool front and putting the skull and crossbone thing on there. But, it always bothered me that I couldn't work out how to make it actually glow. And if you've been with me and watched, a number of my videos, you might have seen the cloud video where I made a light up cloud. And in that one, I was mentioning the strontium illuminate powder, which is this glowing powder that's meant to be super, super glowy and really cool. Now, I did try and make the cloud glow, and that would have been really freaking awesome, but unfortunately I think having a little satchel of powder, because it's quite expensive, it was never going to be enough for the size of the cloud to actually make it work. The stars that I had on there kind of glowed a little bit, but yeah, it didn't really work out. But we're working with something a lot smaller, and I think the powder to size ratio here is going to be a lot better, and we can possibly actually make a glowing bottle, or at least that's what I'm hoping. I also have which I didn't know about at the time of making the other bottle, I have the actual cork lights, which one of my subscribers mentioned to me, which was really helpful. Somehow at the time I didn't realize they made these little lights with a cork top, which is really cool, and they're like a couple of bucks, so really cheap, really easy. So what I'm going to try to do is to use some epoxy. This is a 2-part epoxy, and create a new glowing magic bottle. Now, this one's going to have a little bit of a spin. I have really wanted to make myself an Aqua Tofana bottle. If you don't know Bailey Sarian, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. She did a video not too long ago, which was talking about this story of this lady from Italy from back, I think, a few hundred years ago or something like that, who created this poison called Aqua Tofana and was selling it to a lot of the people in and around her village. And these ladies were using it to get rid of their husbands. If they were would-be widows that were getting sick of their husband, they would slip them a little bit of this Aqua Tofana, and there you go. And it was always in this inconspicuous bottle, kind of looked like perfume or makeup or something like that, that could just sit on their nightstand and no one would ever think anything of it. And I thought, if I'm making a poison bottle, I have to make an Aqua Tofana bottle, because it tickles me in probably all the wrong ways, but I just have to have one. So that's what I want to do, is make an Aqua Tofana bottle. Don't worry, it's not the real stuff. It's completely fake. But yeah, I figured let's do both. We'll make, hopefully, new and improved glowing bottle, although we're at the start of this journey, so we don't know whether it's going to work or not. As always with all of my projects, I'm like, I'm at the start too. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I am going down the journey and I'm taking you with me, whether you like it or not. So let's go and see if we can make ourselves an Aqua Tofana poison bottle. Aqua Tofana, Aqua Tofana, Aqua Tofana. Okay, so I've got my resin out here, and I've got some little plastic cups to mix the resin into. I'm going to have to do this in sections, I think, because I don't have a really big container to pour as much resin as I need for the bottle in. And then I have to add the glowing powder somehow and the alcohol inks. I don't know how I'm going to do this because I'm having to do it in parts, so I hope this works out okay. I don't know if this will, honestly, but we'll see what we can do. I want to get a nice bright green colour similar to the original one, and I want to put as much glowing powder in as I possibly can because I really want this thing to glow. So I am going all out. This is all going in. Oh my god! Holy cow, I've made the biggest mess right now. So it's the next day, hence the different outfit and makeup and so forth. I let the resin dry overnight. I made a huge mess doing the resin. It was, yeah, not great. I think the problem was I was trying to mix the amount that I needed using tiny little cups. I didn't have anything larger that I could use for the resin, so I had to try and mix it in both, and because I was like mixing color in it as well. Anyway, long story short, I made a big mess. I poured too much into the funnel and like it was coming out really slowly, and then all of a sudden, I don't know where it came from, but it was like this avalanche of resin came out and went everywhere. So that was not so fun. And we're at the next day and this is what we have so far. Now, it is looking a little bit more aqua and a little less Tofana. Unfortunately, the glowing powder seems to have settled at the bottom here a little bit. It's still got a little bit of the colour through here though, and I do quite like the colour. It's this weird kind of milky, translucent colour, which, I don't know, I'm kind of digging that. And I did see that it does glow a fair bit. I don't mind too much the glowing being at the bottom because it kind of emits this glow throughout the rest of the bottle. I'll show that more towards the end though. But basically where we're at is I want to do some more decorating on the bottle. I want to add some of the elements of the actual Aqua Tofana bottles. So I was having a look at what the bottles were, or what they believed the bottles may have looked like. And apparently they think that they were probably put into St. Nicholas bottles and like manna bottles, they called them. And from what I was reading, it was a little creepy. These manna bottles, it was collecting like dew or residue or something, like some sort of fluids from the skeleton of St. Nicholas into these bottles that were, and they were believed to have these special properties, I think. A little strange, I'm not gonna lie, but they think that that was probably what was used, and I'll show some examples of the bottles. I don't think I'm not sure if any of these are actually confirmed bottles, except possibly the ones that do say Aqua on them. None of them actually say Aqua Tofana, which mine is gonna say that, but. So anyway, what happened though, the resin did pull away from the bottle a little bit as it dried. Unfortunately, there's been a bit of shrinkage. That's what he said. And unfortunately, it's like created these little kind of divots and things in the bottle. I don't know if I can fix that. I have thought about maybe putting a little bit more resin in to see if I can fill that up a little bit further. So I may do that. I'm thinking I want to go a different direction than the original bottle, which is very obviously poison. So I've got it here and obviously I've put the skull and crossbones and written poison. So it's really, you know, not trying to hide anything. No, subtle as a brick, you know, no subtlety here at all. I'm going to go a little bit different for this bottle because I want to have a little bit of the authentic story, which is that it wasn't trying to be obvious. So I'll try and put some of the decorations that are similar to the Aqua Tofana bottles on there. So yes, that's what I'm thinking. So I've got a bit of work to go. I'll stop rambling on because we better get stuck in and see how this all comes out. Now it did try to fix the gaps that were left in the resin by shrinking, by pouring a bit more resin in and filling it up, but it didn't really work out. I couldn't get it to go down into those gaps, but I did add beads to the top to make it look like bubbles. Now I did already have these molds of crosses and I thought it would be good to have some religious symbology. I didn't go so far as to put St. Nick on the front, but I thought having a cross on there would then add to that Aqua Tofana feel. And I used some CA glue to glue it on after I'd baked it. Now I just used a Sharpie to start sketching out the text before I started painting it on with some alcohol inks, because you can just easily wipe it off with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. And I paid attention to how some of the text looked on some of the bottles, some examples that they had, and tried to mimic a similar style to the lettering that I used on there. Again, with some alcohol inks, I started painting on some of the designs similar to the bottles that were out there as well. A lot of them have all this gold detailing, like little pattern work and stuff. Now this is a little decorative piece that I believe came off maybe a fireplace grate, and I've just popped it on top of a button and I stuck that to the top of the bottle lights, and then I'm using some epoxy sculpt just to really sculpt that into the piece without covering up that switch, of course, because you need to be able to turn it on and off. And I didn't cover up the battery section either. And I used some epoxy sculpt and one of those little letter, you know, wax sealant things, because I had one of those already. So I was able to put a cool little pattern into the sides there and cover that up as well. And I've just used this bronze art alchemy paint on top of the epoxy sculpt once it dried. And a little bit of red colouring onto these little epoxy sculpt details that I used to cover up the edges of that sticker. And I did decide to go over some of the gold detailing, well actually all of the gold detailing with this relief paint. I actually really liked the way it looked. It's like this glass relief paint that you can get. I'll see if I can find a link to it. And then I dry brushed some black onto the top there as well. So what do you think, guys? Which one's better, the first one or the second one? While you guys are deciding which bottle's better, oh damn! Aqua Tofana. Cheers!